In this series, my team of experts and I will walk you through every step of the surrogacy journey, from your first application all the way through birth and recovery. Over the past 5 years, we've helped hundreds of women through their own surrogacy journeys, and countless intended parents reach their dream of parenthood. Surrogacy is my life's passion. It's one of the most selfless and life-changing gifts a woman can offer another family. But it's also complex and emotional. That's why we've created this series, to educate, empower, and help you feel confident in each phase of the journey here at Alcea. Whether this is your first journey or not, there's so much to learn, and we're here to support you every step of the way. This video covers intake and screening. Before I tell you about intake and screening, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my own qualifications. My name is Angela. I am CEO and founder of Alcea Surrogacy, and I've been pregnant 10 times. 6 of those pregnancies were surrogacy pregnancies. I've also been an egg donor twice, and I used IVF for the conception of my last child. That means I've gone through 9 embryo transfers, 3 egg retrievals, and have given myself over 1,500 shots. But most importantly, I've been highly ingratiated in this community for close to 2 decades. So I'm going to talk to you about the critical parts of intake and screening and why it is so important that you work with an agency who takes this part of the process so incredibly seriously, not only for safety purposes, but ethical purposes. When I was a surrogate, safety was certainly not a priority. And unfortunately, even here today, 18 years later, there are agencies and clinics that are still not surrogate and safety first. And it's important that you vet the agency to confirm that they are not acting in these old school capacities, that they understand things have changed and that they're going to do all that they can potentially do to keep you safe. When you first consider becoming a surrogate, step 1 with Alcea is going to be filling out a very basic pre-qualification, where we're going to just make sure that you are minimally qualified for this process. If the answer is yes, you're going to be assigned a surrogate mentor who is someone that has been a surrogate before and knows this process very well. They're going to introduce you to the concepts of surrogacy. They're going to tell you a little bit about the process as a whole, remind you that it doesn't matter where your agency is located geographically, most everything is done remote. All in, just go through the logistics of surrogacy. Make sure that you understand the support system that you're going to need to have, the commitments, that you have to be open to giving yourself shots, that there are a multitude of different types of intended parents that might not live geographically close to you. But all in all, they're going to get on a phone call with you and make sure that you can have an opportunity and a safe space to answer any and all questions you have about potentially becoming a surrogate. If after you hear these answers and you listen to your mentor, you decide you'd like to move forward in the process, that's when you'll begin your full application and we'll begin the screening process. This basic application serves to prove that you meet the very basic requirements of ASRM guidelines for surrogacy. You're a person with a uterus between the ages of 23 and 43, you have a BMI under 32, no more than 5 vaginal deliveries, but at least 1 delivery, no more than 3 C-sections, and you've had a healthy pregnancy within the last 7 years. You also need to be able to pass basic background checks, psychological evaluations, etc. But we'll get more into that in detail as I talk to you about the screening process as a whole. I want to point out, I understand a lot of surrogates are considering a lot of different agencies. They're having conversations to see who is the best fit. This is natural, and I encourage this type of discussion. But please remember that once you have decided to move forward with an application and you give us permission to begin to pull things like background checks and financial records, medical records, we're making a financial investment in you. And it's really cordial and critical that you're open and transparent if you're also talking to other agencies. So all in, talk to as many agencies as you need to. Understand who's going to be the best fit, who's the most ethical, and who can you see yourself connecting with the easiest. But once you're in, we're going to start spending money on you, we're going to start investing in you, and we want to make sure that we do that in good faith and that we're all working together transparently. Once it has been determined that you meet the very basic requirements, your actual screening will begin. What we're going to do is start with a background check. The background check is background for criminal and sex offender registry for yourself and everyone over the age of 18 that lives in your home. After that, we move on to financial services. Our financial services check consists of confirming that you are not involved in any kind of active bankruptcy or financial litigation, that you're not utilizing any kind of income-based social program for food or housing, and that you meet a minimum monthly income. This is a part of the process that we get a lot of questions on. Why, if surrogacy can earn you money, do we care if you are in a certain financial situation? Well, the reason is really simple. Number one, there's no money quickly. So you have to go through a significant amount of testing and other types of activities before you'll ever see any kind of money. Number two, ethically speaking, Alcea is not here to prey on women who need surrogacy compensation to keep food on the table or a roof over their head. Surrogates should be otherwise middle-class families who are using the surrogacy compensation just like I did, as a typical middle-class family with a tool in my tool belt to do things like potentially put a down payment on a home, go back to school, or pay off debt. There is no guaranteed compensation in surrogacy, so it's very important that you are financially stable when you enter the process. After we've completed your background check, we are going to request that you fill out a HIPAA form. That HIPAA form allows our clinical coordination team to request your prenatal, labor, and delivery records directly from your obstetric doctor, as well as the place that you gave birth. We also require that you have an updated pap smear and a clearance letter from your current OB provider. We then have 2 RNs on our team that are going to do a review of those records to confirm that you've had safe pregnancies and you could be a safe surrogate. That being said, these clinicians work for Alcea. That means they are not truly neutral in their decision making. And we want to make this process as safe as possible for you. So after we've determined that you are a potentially safe candidate, every single one of our surrogates will go to see an actual medical doctor who is an MFM or a maternal fetal medicine doctor. A maternal fetal medicine doctor is a doctor that is specialized and educated in high-risk pregnancies. We work with an outside company that is neutral to Alcea. They are paid agnostic of whether they choose to pass or fail a candidate, and they will meet with every surrogate, have an appointment, review the records, and then make the decision as to whether or not you are a safe candidate to not only undergo IVF, but then carry that pregnancy safely to term. Ultimately speaking, our team is going to start that evaluation, but the doctor will be the one making the final decision as to whether or not you are a suitable candidate for surrogacy. After the maternal fetal medicine assessment, you're going to move on to our mental health assessment. We use the same methodology here. Yes, we do have mental health professionals on staff, but they are not able to make neutral decisions. So we work with 2 outside groups who work nationwide. They employ only PhD clinicians, and they are going to facilitate a 3-tiered psychological evaluation with you and your partner, if applicable. The first part of this session is an hour-long meeting or appointment that they call the readiness session. And that's actually very much what it sounds like, your readiness for this process. They're going to ask a lot of questions about your support system. What would you do in the event of an unexpected event or complication like long-term bed rest? They're going to talk to you about your family and friend support, your social circle. It's also at this time, if there's anything in your background that might be uncomfortable to discuss, you should be prepared to discuss. So examples of that would be previous STIs, maybe divorce agreements, custody agreements, etc. Anything in the past that could have an effect on your mental health and your ability to move forward in the surrogacy process. The report that the agency receives is very heavily focused on your ability to answer questions appropriately, digest information appropriately, and really if you're able to understand the gravity of the responsibility that you are signing up for when you choose to be a gestational surrogate. After the readiness session, we move on to a proctored test where that same clinician will facilitate what is called a personality assessment inventory. This proctored test gives us a pie graph of neutral, positive, and negative personality attributes. We use this test for 2 reasons. The first, if any of the negative components of the personality that are tall bars are components that are things that are not compatible with surrogacy, we might decline a candidate. Some examples of that would be suffering from hypochondria, something that's called mismatched intentions, and that's a mental health provider's way of saying dishonest answers, someone that feels like they need a lot of attention or feelings of grandeur. All in all, we're not looking to exclude anyone from this process, but we are looking for tall bars of things that are specifically counterintuitive to a successful surrogacy process. The second reason that we have this test facilitated is to just learn more about you. We want to know about, are you a type A or a type B thinker? Are you someone that likes to take the driver's seat or have a more laid back type of communication style? These types of understandings will help us know how to better match you with an intended parent that can be the best type of partner. The final part of the psychological evaluation is going to be a virtual home study. I want to be clear. We are going to see the inside of your home through pictures and videos. We don't care about how your house is decorated, even how clean your house is. What we care about is that you live in a safe environment, that you live where you say you live, with whom you say you live with, and that you live within a reasonable distance of a level 2 NICU or higher. All of these things together are what we call the pre-screening package. And this is the amount of information that we are going to send over to your potential intended parent's IVF clinic for them to evaluate and give us a pre-approval as to whether or not you are a suitable candidate for surrogacy. These things are very important, not only for the safety of your intended parent's baby and their embryo, but also for you. As I said, I encourage potential surrogates to talk to a multitude of agencies. Begin to hear what they have to say, their compensation packages, how they screen their surrogates. And I guarantee after speaking to some agencies, you're gonna think, why does Alcea do so much in the pre-screening process? The reason that we do these things up front is to ensure that you have the safest possible journey. Yes, your clinic might repeat some of these, but why would we want to waste intended parents' time on a candidate that we could have just done a little bit of extra work to have a confirmation that when they get to the clinic, they have a much higher chance of being medically cleared and moving forward in the process. So when you're looking at different agencies, there's more to it than just who can get you matched the quickest. In fact, sometimes that's the most dangerous strategy of all. You want to look for someone who has your back, that can answer all of your questions, that is crossing all of those T's and dotting all of those I's to make sure that your experience is safe. Some of the other things that are red flags about agencies that we don't do here at Alcea are things like in-house legal counsel. That is a huge conflict of interest to specifically surrogates. In-house escrow. That's also something that can be very, very dangerous. There are a couple of things that you should absolutely be avoiding and making sure that in all of the interviews you're doing with your agencies, that you're asking these questions. How do you screen? Where do you get your intended parents? And do you have in-house escrow? Do you have in-house legal? All in, if they are not prepared to answer these questions easily, then they are not the right agency for you. Once we've gotten all of that information together, you are actually a matchable surrogate and you'll be put into our matchable queue. But we're gonna do all of these things for your health, for your wellness and your safety to ensure we've got a well-rounded picture from outside providers as well as our internal team to confirm that you're going to be a safe candidate and then you can have a safe and ethical surrogacy journey. Thanks so much for watching and please consider subscribing. In the next video, we'll walk you through how we build your surrogate profile and help you match with the perfect intended parents.